This program is sponsored by attorney Michael Morse and features legal questions from viewers. Nothing within the program establishes attorney-client privileges. The law is a tricky business. You have to get it right to win big or stay out of trouble. You need good facts, a sharp lawyer, and you need to be smart about the law. Welcome to Smart Law with Detroit attorney Michael Morse.
Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Smart Law. I'm your host, Barb Baker. Here on Smart Law, we're going to provide you with information that will help make you smarter about the law and give you the chance to ask questions to the smart lawyer himself, Michael Morse.
That's right, Barb. For those of you who have seen our first few shows and are familiar with Smart Law, you know what we're trying to do here. We are here to give you insight and knowledge about all areas of the law. We touch on a variety of legal issues and do our best to make sure that you have the knowledge to help you win your case, whatever kind of case it is. The more you know, the better your chances are to collect money or stay out of trouble. If you're involved in a legal situation or just curious about the law, give us a call right now.
That's right, Mike. Call the number on your screen, or you can email us, or you can even tweet us. If you have a smartphone, go ahead and take a video of your question and email it to us. We give you a chance to be on TV. So make sure you call 1-855-MIKE-WINS right now, or email us at mike@855mikewins.com, or follow Mike on Twitter at @MichaelMorrisJD. And don't forget to hashtag SmartLaw.
For those of you following me on Twitter, be on the lookout for some legal tips and some updates, and I'll also answer some questions that may come up on the Twitter account.
Awesome. Mike, so why don't you share with us and everybody out there what you have planned for today's show?
As always, we are here to answer all your questions no matter what they are. Nothing's out of bounds. I may handle auto accidents and dog bite cases and Social Security matters in my daily practice, but I'm well versed in all areas of the law and I want to answer all types of legal questions. Later, we'll be back on the streets to show you another class of Mike Morse's Smart Law School. We'll also see Smart Law in action, where we examine some legal issues that will directly affect you, the public, and we see how the people of Detroit really feel about that law or issue.
I can't wait for that. But first, let's jump right into an email question from Marcus in Detroit. Marcus asks, Mike, I just got a notice of foreclosure and I don't have the ability to save my house. I was just wondering, how long do I have until I am evicted?
There are two different kinds of foreclosure. There's a judicial foreclosure and a foreclosure by advertisement. Judicial foreclosure is less common, takes longer, and would require you hiring a lawyer to defend your action. However, more common is the foreclosure by advertisement. In fact, it is so common these days that a new law was passed to help guide you through the process. So with foreclosure by advertisement, the exact amount of time you are able to spend in your home will vary on a lot of different factors.
So what are these factors?
Well, the first big date is the day you get the notice of the default. You then get 30 days to contact and request a meeting with the mortgage holder. The meeting will occur no less than 90 days after that notice.
Well, what happens after this meeting?
Well, during that conversation, you may be able to agree on a modification or make another deal with a law firm handling the foreclosure. If no deal is made, the next step is a sheriff's sale where the house actually goes up for public auction. Starting on the date of that sale, you have 6 months to redeem your property by paying off the balance owed on that home. After the 6 months is up, the mortgage company can formally evict you from the home, or you may negotiate a cash sale for the keys.
So that sounds like a pretty lengthy process.
It is. All in all, the entire process can take a year or even longer.
Does the amount of foreclosures that we have in Michigan, which is a lot, does that have anything to do with the length of time?
The number of foreclosures will most likely affect the length of time it may take to negotiate a loan modification or for the mortgage company to formally foreclose. Each delay that occurs is more time that Marcus and others in his situation could stay in the house.
Well, if you're in any legal situation, it definitely helps to have a smart lawyer on your side. When we come back, we're going to see Smart Law in action and talk in a little more detail about some of the things you can do if you find yourself in the foreclosure process. If you have any questions, call or email your questions to the info on the screen. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Smart Law. I'm your host, Barb Baker.
And I'm attorney Mike Morse. If you have any legal questions or issues you'd like to discuss, please give us a call at 855-MIKE-WINS or email or tweet us your questions. Remember, you can also send us a video question using your smartphone if you want to be on TV. Now, it's time to see Smart Law in action. This week, we're going to discuss a topic that affected a lot of homeowners here in Michigan. In fact, in December of 2011, 1 in every 346 housing units received a foreclosure notice. That is almost twice the national average. With so many homeowners facing this issue, we thought it would be a good time to help our viewers if they are one of the thousands going through that process right now.
Mike, in our last segment, we talked about how long the process can take, but what can you do yourself? What can people do out there to help themselves along the way?
Well, before we get into that, let's take to the streets to see what Detroit thinks about the overwhelming number of foreclosures and what we can do about it, and then we'll come back and answer that question. So we're back on the street today asking people questions about topical things. Okay, tell me your first name.
My first name is Ryan.
All right, Ryan, thanks for being with us. Do you know anybody in your life who's been affected by the Michigan foreclosure crisis?
Yes, several people.
And do you think that the banks are treating them fairly?
No, I don't believe so, because the loans that they gave them, I don't feel like they knew what they were getting into because of the wording and how they did the loans. So I feel like they should kind of dial back on the foreclosures and give people a chance to save their homes.
Have you or your family or anybody you know been affected by the foreclosure crisis here in Michigan?
Oh, yes. Yes.
And do you think the banks are treating people fairly when they're dealing with these foreclosures?
Yes.
You do?
I actually do.
Tell me why.
Because I just feel like you should pay for, well, you have to take care of your business, and if you don't take care of your business, then you should get it taken away.
And do you think that the banks are treating those people fairly?
Not really.
And what have you heard, or what is your experience with that?
Me and my husband actually went through a foreclosure, and so we had to actually walk away from our house. We tried renting it out. They wouldn't let us do that. People didn't pay the rent. It's a lot of stuff.
Sounds like a mess. I'm sorry you went through that. Do you think the banks treated you fairly?
I mean, I guess it is what it is, really. Things happen.
Anybody in your life or any friends or relatives who've been affected by the foreclosure crisis?
Yes.
And do you think that the banks are treating those people fairly?
No.
And how so?
Because some people, it's really hard to get jobs out here. It should be a little bit more lenient for people who, just lost their job and have a family to provide. They should be a little bit more lenient.
Do you have anybody in your life who's been affected by the foreclosure crisis?
Yes.
And do you think that the banks treated those people fairly in dealing with the foreclosure?
Not particularly, no.
And tell me how.
Well, I don't really know their personal situation, but I know that they got in some serious trouble, and they lost their house for a lot more than they paid for.
Wow. And do you think banks should be a lot more lenient with people who are going through these hard times?
Absolutely.
Having a foreclosure happen to you is heart-wrenching, and it seems like everyone here either knows someone who went through a foreclosure or they went through one themselves, and they all have different opinions on the subject.
I know, I was surprised by that, and some people think the banks are acting fairly by taking back the homes, and if someone doesn't pay, and others think it's unfair.
Well, what is the best way people can protect themselves if they end up getting a notice of foreclosure?
It all depends. If you are truly trying to save your home, there is one way to attack a foreclosure. And if you aren't happy in your current home, there are some other things you can do to at least buy you some time to live in your residence for a while to figure some things out.
For someone who wants to save their home, what can they do?
Well, if the lender will do a loan modification or a forbearance agreement, that's a good start. It may be that the reason you are in a foreclosure is that you're in a bad loan. Normally, the mortgage company will give you a trial period for the modification. You must make sure that you make your payments on time, or else they'll just start the process over. The other thing you can do is obviously file for bankruptcy. The bankruptcy protection will stop the foreclosure and give you an opportunity to stay in the home through the bankruptcy court.
So, Mike, what if you just want to stay in the home as long as you possibly can?
In this instance, take advantage of every possible gap in the process. Ask for meetings. This will take some time to set it up. Try to negotiate a short sale where someone else will buy your home for less than you owe on it. See if the bank will allow you to stay in the home for a length of time until a sale is approved. When the court gets involved, a lawyer can slow things down. There have been many court cases where it was found that the banks did not properly foreclose and they had to start the process over again. But by the time you get your foreclosure notice, you should have a good idea whether you want to try to save the home or not. It really makes a difference in how you approach it.
Well, it seems like foreclosures it's not as simple as I thought.
Recently, there have been a lot of stopgap measures to help make sure homeowners can make a smooth transition through this whole foreclosure process. Also, some of the banks are offering a cash for keys program. That's where you get paid to leave your house without the bank having to go through the full-blown foreclosure and eviction process. Foreclosure is a lengthy and difficult process to endure, and if you have any questions or concerns, make sure you try to get as much information as possible.
This is another example of where it pays to be smart about the law. Next, we'll have more of your questions. If you need the number, just listen to Mercy.
Mike Morris, Mike Morris, Mike Morris, Mike Morris, he's coming for you. Oops. 855 Mike wins.
Welcome back to Smart Law with attorney Mike Morris. Remember, if you have a question for Mike, please call 1-855-MIKE-WINS. Mike, everyone always looks forward to your advice. And here's a question on a topic we haven't covered that much. This is Sue from Commerce.
I'm Sue from Commerce, and I'm on a joint bank account with my father, who's very ill. And if something happens to him, I just want to know, would that account go into probate if he passed away?
No, Sue, it doesn't. The reason is that joint accounts are set up with the sole rights of survivorship, meaning whomever outlives the other will retain all of the funds in the account without having to go through the probate court.
So what about property like a house? Does that go through probate?
It all depends on how the house is titled. If it's owned by the decedent alone, then yes, real property must pass through probate. If there is a joint ownership with full rights of survivorship, then the property passes to the other joint owner through the operation of law.
That's pretty interesting.
Right. Estate planning and probate is a very specialized area of the law. The more assets you have, the more likely you need to talk to an attorney about an estate plan or a will. Those lawyers can really help make sure that your family and loved ones retain the majority of the estate and, most importantly, try to avoid the probate court.
So hearing you talk, I'm thinking that maybe I should get a will or a trust or something like that. Can you do that for me?
Well, I could, but it probably wouldn't be the best one. Call me and I'll put you in touch with an excellent estate planning attorney as soon as you call.
Now, that goes for you guys out there too. And here's an email question from Roseville. It says, my insurance company wants me to take an examination under oath before they pay my claim. Do I need a lawyer for that?
I recommend you hire a lawyer to represent you at this examination. This is an attempt by the insurance company to use your statements against you. They want to make sure that your statement can give them an excuse not to pay your claim. Insurance companies make money by not paying claims. So I definitely recommend hiring an attorney to walk you through this process.
So what exactly is an examination under oath, and can you refuse it?
An EUO, which is an examination under oath, is a format where the insurance company's lawyers can ask you questions about the claim, much like a deposition. You most likely cannot refuse this because it's a condition of your insurance policy. But having a smart lawyer with experience in dealing with insurance companies is a good way to protect your claim.
Well, here's an unusual question, but one that I think a lot of our viewers may have some interest in. And it's just something that I'm sure a lot of us just don't know a lot about. It's an email from Chris, and he's in Flint. And he asks, can you sue someone for knowingly giving you an STD?
Wow, well, Chris, you bring up an interesting question. If this happens to someone you know, I hope there's treatment and it's curable. But to answer you, if you've been infected with a serious and incurable STD, you may have legal recourse to seek money damages on the grounds of battery, fraud, negligence, and the infliction of psychological and emotional pain, distress, and suffering. Now, it's a mouthful. In order to win your claim, you must realize that the burden of proof lies plainly in your lap. You must be able to prove that the person who infected you knew or should have known that they were infected with that STD, that it was in fact this particular person who infected you, and that you were unaware of the STD status of that individual at the time of the infection. So it's a hard legal principle to overcome. You can seek monetary compensation for past and future losses, possibly even compensation for lifelong medical treatment.
Wow. So what if someone purposely infects you with AIDS, knowing that there's no cure for that?
Well, currently there's 27 states that criminally prosecute people for that specific scenario, and Michigan is one of those states. Michigan law states that it is a felony for an HIV-infected individual who knows that they're infected to engage in sexual penetration without first informing the other person of that infection.
That's a great law to have. Now, this is a video question that came in from Mike from West Bloomfield.
Hey Mike, it's Mike from West Bloomfield, and I'm forming a company, but I'm not sure whether I should form a corporation, a DBA, or an LLC. What do you think I should do?
Well, thanks for that email, Mike. You definitely want to protect yourself by forming a corporation, either it be an LLC, a PLLC, a PC, or some other type to protect you. But as to which one, I'm not the right person to ask. I want you to ask your CPA, because it depends on how many employees you have, where you see your company growing, tax considerations, and those types of things. So your CPA or accountant is the best person to ask regarding what type of corporation to form.
Well, we're out of time for this segment, but if you still have a question for Mike, you can email us, tweet us, or call us 24/7. When we come back, we're taking it to the streets for another class of Mike's Smart Law School. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Smart Law with attorney Mike Morris. It's time for my favorite part of the show, Mike Morris's Smart Law School. So Mike, are there any surprises you want to throw at us after this next segment?
Well, Barb, all I can tell you is there's always a surprise in the works when we have one of our classes, and here it is, class is in session. Hi, this is Mike Morris. We're back on the streets for Mike Morris's Smart Law School with...
Katie.
Can you tell me who gave the Gettysburg Address?
I can't. I don't know that one.
Can you tell me who the Michigan governor is?
No, I can't do that either.
Can you name for me a Detroit Tiger?
Maglio Ordonez.
What is the Gettysburg Address?
What I tell you, no politics here.
Who's the Michigan governor right now?
It used to be Granholm. I don't know.
Okay. And can you name for me a Michigan Supreme Court judge?
No.
Can you name for me a judge on TV?
Judge Judy.
Who gave the Gettysburg Address?
Abraham Lincoln.
Do you know what year?
Was it 1863?
Not sure. I just threw that one in because you seem like a smart guy. Can you name for me one of the two Michigan U.S. senators?
I know it's not Harry Reid. It's the only one coming to mind right now, man.
Okay. Do you know who Michigan's governor is?
Oh, Rick Snyder.
Correct. Can you name for me a Michigan Supreme Court judge?
Michigan Supreme Court judge. That I can't.
Can you name for me a judge on TV?
Judge Judy.
Do you know who the two U.S. senators are here in Michigan?
Carl Levin and Debbie Stabenow.
And the Michigan governor?
Rick Snyder.
And can you name a Michigan Supreme Court judge?
I cannot.
Can you name a judge on TV?
Joe Brown.
What is Super Tuesday?
Super Tuesday? Not Punchki, right? No.
Punchki Day? Fat Tuesday? That's a good guess, though. I like that guess. Do you know what Super Tuesday is all about? What they do on Super Tuesday?
No.
Do you know what TGIF Fridays is?
Yes.
What is it?
It's a restaurant.
Do you know what Super Tuesday is?
No.
Take a guess.
Some kind of radio promotion?
Okay, that's a good guess. Do you know what TGI Fridays is?
It's a restaurant.
All right, we're back with Brooklyn, who's going to sing us a song. Go for it, Brooklyn.
Take another little piece of my heart now, baby. Take another little piece of my heart. I know you will break it.
Awesome. You're going to Hollywood.
Okay.
You're going to Hollywood.
Woo!
She's a beautiful singer. No, but okay, it seems like no matter whenever you do the Smart Law School, everyone knows who Judge Judy is. Who are the judges here in Michigan?
Well, there's a lot of them. You have Justice Hathaway, Justice Kelly, Justice Markman, and there's more. But we're not going to bore everybody with all the justices today.
And they were talking about Super Tuesday, and it doesn't seem like anybody's really familiar with it. I'm going to be honest, I'm not either. I know a little bit about it, but what's the importance of Super Tuesday? Super Tuesday, which just passed, is where the Republicans have their primaries. There's 10 of them, and there's Ohio, there's Tennessee, there's Georgia. There's 400 plus delegates up for grabs. Usually that day determines who the Republican nominee is going to be. Okay. So that's why it's such a big day. That's why there was so much coverage, and 10 states. It's a big day. So Michigan's not involved, and it only deals with Republicans, not Democrats, correct? Correct. It was the 4 Republicans running, and Mitt Romney, of course, won Ohio, and that was a big deal for him. He still hasn't clinched it, but they're saying he's going to. All right, awesome. Well, that's all the time we have on Smart Law today. If you didn't get a chance to get your questions answered, don't worry. We have attorneys standing by 24/7. So make sure you join us again at the same time next week and every week for Smart Law with attorney Mike Morse. See you guys.
Attorney Michael Morse and features legal questions from viewers. Nothing within the program establishes attorney-client privileges. This has been Smart Law with Detroit attorney Michael Morse.